Welcome to the Disney Wedding Podcast. This show is brought to you by Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, the only guidebook and bridal organizer tailored exclusively to Disney's fairy tale weddings at Walt Disney World. I'm Carrie Hayward, and each week I feature Disney wedding updates, money-saving tips, and interviews with wedding vendors and real Disney couples. I also cover honeymoons, anniversaries, and engagements at the Disney parks and resorts. Join me now as the Disney Wedding Podcast celebrates romance at Disney destinations. Today on the Disney Wedding Podcast, I am speaking with Disney couple Lito Morona-Donnelly and Jason Donnelly-Morona about their ceremony at Seabreeze Point with a reception at the Boardwalk Inn Promenade Ballroom and a dessert party at France in EPCOT. I thought you guys would be interested to hear how they chose these locations and how they planned everything and how it all turned out. So welcome, Jason and Lito.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for being on the show today. I would love to start at the very beginning and find out how you guys decided that you wanted to have your wedding at Disney.
Sure. So we live just outside of Orlando, about 30 minutes from the park. So we're there all the time. We're big Disney fanatics. I've been to all 6 resorts worldwide. So it kind of made sense to do it there more than anywhere else. We got engaged at the Swan and Dolphin. It happened to be the same weekend as one of the open houses. So the next day we decided to take a look around, and it pretty much just solidified our decision to have it there. We didn't even consider any other venue, honestly, besides Disney.
And we kind of considered Paris, but that would be kind of a hassle to get everyone out there. So we stuck local.
Yeah, we did look at Disneyland Paris for a bit, but my grandmother doesn't have a passport. So that would have been a little hard for her to join us. So.
Got it. Okay. Now, how did your friends and family react when they found out where the wedding was going to be?
I would say it wasn't really a shock to a lot of people. Like I said, we're from Orlando, and so was a lot of our close friends and family. So, I mean, like, for a lot of people, it wasn't necessarily like a once-in-a-lifetime vacation. It was like, just business as usual for us. So, that being said, though, we had some relatives from out of town who were very excited to see the spectacle of a Disney wedding. So that was really exciting as well.
That's awesome. How many guests did you invite, and how many were able to make the trip?
I want to say it was around 95 were invited, and we just hit about 80 guests. We didn't invite all 95 guests at once. We kind of wanted to keep the number at 80, so as people weren't able to come for whatever reason, we added some people on the list. So by the end, it was about 95 that we invited, but again, only 80 showed.
Did you set up a room block for your guests?
Yes, and we decided to do. I'm a big fan of Yacht and Beach, even though we had our festivities over at Boardwalk. I just really like the vibe of Yacht and Beach. So we set up the room block at Yacht and Beach, and we also did Skyliner Resorts, so people who maybe not wanted to spend a lot of money on rooms could have somewhere to stay that was still pretty close to all the events.
I see. Okay, great. Now, how did you choose the day of the week and time of day for your event?
From the beginning, I kind of wanted it to be like a end of summer event. I really liked the weekend right after Labor Day, just because someone could make it a really long weekend if they wanted to. I mean, it's starting to get a little less hot than maybe August or July. And then we picked a Sunday specifically because we were eligible for the cast discount because my dad is a cast member on Sundays. It wasn't available on Saturdays or around holidays, so we wanted to take advantage of that as much as we could.
That's fantastic. I have the basics of the discount sketched out in the Fairy Tale Weddings Guide. Can you share a little bit about how that worked for you guys?
Sure. So it was generally about 10% off of everything. I say everything, but like entertainment wasn't discounted, like any character appearances. The DJ wasn't, but like our decor, our floral, the ceremony venue itself, and then anything else, kind of like a lot of the dessert party fees were discounted as well. For any food and beverage, excluding alcohol, if we did everything through Disney as much as we could, we got an additional 10% off of food and beverage. So like that's why we chose to get our photography done through Disney. We chose to get our DJ through Disney and things like that all through Disney. That being said, with the discount, we booked exactly a year to the day for our specific venue for Seabreeze Point. Then maybe the following March is when they announced that summer wedding deal where it was like half off, like a couple venues. And even though we already booked, but they were able to apply that half off discount for the venue as well, which was really nice.
Wow, that's fantastic. How did you guys choose your ceremony and reception venues?
We did the open house, and Grand Floridian wasn't really our vibe, especially the wedding pavilion. It felt a little too formal for us, I feel. We were definitely always wanted to stick around the Epcot resort area just because that area means a lot to us. Like I mentioned earlier, we're from Orlando, so we're at Epcot at least once every 2 weeks, if not every week. Epcot is where we had a lot of our first dates, so we knew we wanted to have something in the Epcot area. We were looking at a lot of different venues. We looked at like the Living Sea Salon. We looked at having it in the World Celebration Gardens. We looked at American Adventure, Seabreeze Point, and the Boardwalk kind of made the most sense just for us. It was a very nice venue, and we also had some characters that we wanted to show up to the wedding. Those were a little restrictive as to where we could have the specific characters, so that kind of also made it easier in a ballroom as well.
That's interesting. Let's talk about that because not only did you have Mickey and Minnie, but you also had the Three Musketeers. And I love highlighting unusual characters like this for my listeners because Disney doesn't give out any kind of comprehensive list. I have a gallery on my website that's like all the crazy characters that have been at past weddings, so you can get ideas there. But I would love to talk about how you chose the Three Musketeers and how did it go when you requested them? Was it hard to get them?
Sure. So initially, with our theme of the wedding was just Epcot in general. We tried to get some other friends to show up based on different Epcot countries. Like we tried to get Maui because like of the Moana experience. We tried to get Three Caballeros, and just the Three Musketeers made the most sense for us because they were from France, and we could say they were from Epcot, France. We actually requested Quasimodo from Hunchback of Notre Dame in addition to the Three Musketeers, and it doesn't seem like Quasimodo's in Walt Disney World anymore. But they did approve the Three Musketeers without issue, which was very relieving and was kind of surprising. We tried to get other characters as well to add it on before we just landed on the Mickey and Minnie. A lot of those were not available or just not available for weddings. So that's kind of how we got those three. Like me personally, I'll travel all around the world to different Disney parks to meet a lot of rare characters. So I tried to use the wedding as an opportunity to get a new one. And just, I guess I've met all the characters at Disney World that were eligible to have been met. So that's how we kind of landed on those and then the Mickey and Minnie as well.
That's interesting. So you hadn't met the Three Musketeers before?
Correct. I've tried to search online. It seems like they've made like very few appearances and like they were in a show in Tokyo Disney a very long time ago. So it was kind of a pretty good get for our guests. So
that's awesome. And so whereas Mickey and Minnie can help you cut the cake and everything, how was it having the Three Musketeers stuck with the backdrop?
yeah, so when we first initially booked the Three Musketeers, it was before we landed on having Mickey and Minnie in addition. They were very clear with us that the three of them could not cut the cake. It would have been really cool because I know like the Three Musketeers have swords. That'd be really cool to cut the cake. But they made it pretty clear that was not allowed. So they set up a backdrop in the corner. We also had to pay an additional fee for some of the plantings that you see on the left and right of the photos, just because there were three characters and to make sure the backdrop was big enough to include everyone. Looking back, the only thing I'd say with them having kind of like showing up in the middle was that it kind of chopped up the reception dancing part a little bit because a lot of guests were dancing on the dance floor and then everyone kind of hopped in line to go meet Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. And then after that, they kind of fizzled out and didn't return to the dance floor. So it was definitely a weird pause in the middle, but I think it was worth it because the photos came out really nicely.
Okay, this is really interesting. So then, did you guys use any outside vendors for the portions of your event that you were able to?
I mean, there wasn't really anything that we looked at for outside vendors. Like we didn't hire any makeup or hair or anything like that. I can't really think of any outside vendors that we used. I'm half Filipino, like in my heritage, and me and my groomsmen all wore custom made barongs, which are like very fancy, like traditional Filipino garments that we ordered from a company called Heritage Barong in the Philippines. And other than that, like Men's Warehouse, we really didn't use any other like outside vendors. We pretty much did everything through Disney.
Got it. That makes sense with getting the discount and everything.
Yeah.
How did you choose your officiant?
So the officiant was a good friend of mine from school. He's very charismatic and I felt like he's a really good crowd pleaser. So it was his first wedding. And so he was really good at like, we made sure he was good with timing and like speaking and things like that. And we got him ordained online. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice. So we talked about the characters that you added to the reception. Did you have any other kind of entertainment like musicians for the ceremony and the reception?
We used the violinist that was included with the venue. And then we did have a DJ that we booked through Disney for the rest of the reception. We had DJ Russ. He was great. He was really good at giving us like letting us pick the music, and he was really good at like mixing in some of our favorite songs. On my other half of my family's from New Orleans, so we did like a New Orleans second line at the end, and he was really good at, getting the right song and making the right timings. So DJ Russ was great. I will say that we initially booked DJ J, but something happened, maybe some sort of family emergency pretty close to the wedding, but they were able to get DJ Russ booked in really quickly, which I've seen some horror stories online of vendors canceling at the last minute and having to find people at the last minute. So booking through Disney was definitely a peace of mind that if something were to happen, they would just get us another one without us having to do anything. So that was really nice.
That's great. Do you guys have any menu items or cake flavors that you would recommend?
Oh, the vegan Wellington was really good. That was a really big hit, especially even with the non-vegans. They love the vegan Wellington. Yeah, it was a dish that I tried at Steakhouse 71, and when I had it, I was like, we have to have this at the wedding. So,
One of the reasons that we booked through Disney was also because we go to the parks all the time and they're really good about having allergy friendly and like plant-based dishes that aren't just carrot sticks or salad. So they were pretty reassuring in being able to make anything that we've had on property that was plant-based. And I want to say like good 80 to 85% of our menu items were plant-based. So that was really nice.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you have any recommendations for others who might want a similar menu?
Sure. So like we also for our dessert party we had chicken and Mickey waffles, and we also were able to have a plant-based version of that.
at the pre-reception, we had a tofu item that was really popular. It was like a glazed tofu.
Yeah, it was the glazed tofu with ohana noodles, and I believe that is actually on the official like wedding menus.
Yeah, a lot of people really liked that one.
We had the French cut Rioja chicken, which is on the menu, and we didn't order this, but we were surprised when they brought out a plant-based version of it for Jason. And then, of course, the strawberry bars are always a big hit with everyone since those are the vegan alternative to Mickey bars.
Great, this is good stuff. Can you talk about your party in Epcot and whether you added a ride mix in?
Sure, we thought about adding a ride mix in, but it just wasn't in our budget this go around. But we did. The menu for our dessert party was, like as I mentioned earlier, we had the chicken and Mickey waffle station with like the different sauces. We had a Dole Whip cream puff, and then we had Mickey bars, the Mickey sandwiches, and the strawberry bars. The way that it ended up happening because of the rain, they moved it all inside. So we were supposed to have the dessert party from 8:15 to about 9:15, but they brought the desserts out a little early, so like maybe 7:30, and then we all went to Epcot around 8:20, and then we all just sat outside without desserts. A lot of people kind of preferred that, honestly, just because of the timing, and people didn't have to hold their stuff outside. So that was a pretty big hit. I will say though, because it was earlier, I feel like a lot of people didn't enjoy the desserts because they just had cake maybe 20, 30 minutes before that. So I feel like a lot of the food kind of sat there, especially for me as well. Like I feel like I didn't get to have enough desserts just because of the timing.
Can you give my listeners a timeline of how the wedding day all fit together?
Sure. So the ceremony itself was at 2:30. The venue opened at 2. I know I'm going a little backwards. 2:30 was the ceremony. We had a really short ceremony. So we sent our guests over to the cocktail hour a little early. It was like maybe 2:50, 3 o'clock at the earliest. The cocktail hour lasted until about 4:15, and then that's when the reception started. We had our first character appearance at 4:30, and that's when we did our stage cake cutting. We did a decades dance in Mickey and Minnie, and then they went out in the hallway and met all of our guests. The amount of time it took to do that was plenty of time for them to meet 80 guests. Like we had plenty of time for photos, and that was a big worry of mine, was making sure that like they had enough time to meet everyone, and that went really well. We had dinner at 5:15 is when dinner started. And then the second character appearance happened at 6. From 6 to 6:30 is when Mickey, Donald, and Goofy met our guests. We kept everyone dancing till about 7:30, 7:45 is when the DJ left. We had a little bit of a waiting period between when the desserts were out and before everyone was ushered to Epcot. Everyone left for Epcot around 8:15. Everyone was seated in the venue. Because of the way they changed it, they just set up a bunch of seats for everyone to see the fireworks, which was really nice. Everyone had a really good view of everything. And the fireworks are at 9. And then after the fireworks, everyone departed from there.
That's great. And actually, that reminds me, I didn't follow up on this, but do you have any cake flavors you would recommend from your cake?
The Florida orange was very popular with our guests, I will say. We also did a sheet cake with confetti.
Confetti and strawberry jam.
And then what was your cake?
It was milk chocolate with espresso. That was the vegan flavor.
It was pretty good, too. That was the cake we ended up cutting. They did the milk chocolate on top. They did the orange cream on the bottom, and then the sheet cake was the confetti.
Got it. Okay. So for each of you, what ended up being your favorite memory of your wedding day?
I feel like a lot of our relatives might think it's funny or peculiar that all we do is do Disney. Whether we do a cruise, we go to Disneyland, we go to Hong Kong Disney, blah, blah, blah. Like they say, oh, you guys are always doing Disney. But then we had all of our guests come and celebrate our day with us at Disney. And then for them, it clicked what the magic was. Whether it was meeting Mickey and Minnie or enjoying or having the Mickey bar or seeing the fireworks at the end of the day. Like it all kind of clicked. And I feel like that was like just being at Disney is a big part of us and our story, and being able to share that with others was just a huge moment for me.
Yeah, I'd say for me, my favorite memory was probably a toss-up between the cake cutting with Mickey and Minnie and the fireworks viewing. I think those were my two favorite points for me.
That's awesome. And for Mickey and Minnie, did you choose special outfits for them?
We tried to pick outfits that I hadn't seen before. I commend our planners because they sent us the list, and everything but the two costumes that we had seen at some point, whether it was at a run or at another event. It was funny because she finds these two blue costumes, and our colors for the wedding were blue. She's like, "These are perfect for the wedding," and I almost said yes, but then at the tasting, those two Mickey and Minnie's walked out, and we met them. I was like, "Okay, well now we don't need them at the ceremony because we just met them here." And I felt so bad because she scavenged all through her documents to find these costumes that we hadn't seen, and then we saw them at the event. But we picked those two pretty much because we neither of us had seen those at that point. So
That's interesting. And so for listeners who are interested in getting alternative or less used costumes for Mickey and Minnie, my character gallery on the Fairy Tale Weddings Guide website also has a tab where you can see all the different costumes that have appeared at weddings. So that's another great way to get ideas for this.
I know that they were giving us, we initially, like I mentioned earlier, our theme of the wedding was Epcot. I will say that entertainment has kind of changed their policy on different costumes. They said that a lot of the Epcot looks, like if there's like a Norwegian Mickey or like a Japanese Minnie, they've tried to not use them as much anymore due to cultural sensitivities. So maybe 5, 6 years ago, those might have been usable, but nowadays for weddings, they're pretty much not used. So that was a big struggle for us as well.
Interesting. Okay, that's a great tip. So when you guys were planning, what were some of the most important aspects of the event where you focused your attention or your budget?
We definitely focused a big thing on characters. Like I know that our guests would expect to come to our wedding and see a really cool character. So that was a big thing for us. Making sure that since Jason's a vegan, making sure he had options that again weren't just like carrot sticks or salad. Making sure he had something that he enjoyed on his wedding day was a big concern for us. I don't say it was a concern because we went to our tasting and they pretty much reassured us that like anything that's available on property is fair game.
Yeah.
Because we eat at the parks all the time, so there's like 5 or 6 different vegan entrees that shipped in and out that are very suitable for weddings. So even if they weren't on the like printed menus that they give you, like they could pretty much make anything happen, which was really nice. And then even when it came to the day of, like I mentioned earlier, like they surprised us with more vegan things that we weren't even anticipating, which was really nice.
Yeah, it helped that we went to a lot of restaurants on property beforehand and we remembered certain like menu items that we really enjoyed and we could, suggest them to the chef. So that helped a lot as well.
I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, I think a lot of people think you have to stick with the sample menus that your planner sends you, but you can actually completely customize anything, and grabbing stuff from the parks is a great idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And if you check out the Fairy Tale Weddings Guide website, I also have tons of old menus from weddings and other catered events that can give you ideas if you're kind of stumped. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, no worries.
Were there any aspects of the event that were less important to you guys, where maybe you saved your money or just your effort?
For us specifically, like a lot of floral wasn't necessary. We got our floral budget back, and we were looked like deer in headlights between how high the bill was, even after discounts and everything. And we definitely did a lot of trimming when it came to floral and a lot of decor too. Like our venue was pretty dim in the first place, so a lot of I feel like if we had invested all the money in a lot of the decor, it wouldn't have been as enjoyed. We also stuck with like the standard table linen, like we didn't upgrade any of the chairs or any of the table linen for the reception or the ceremony or the dessert party. And we kept it pretty simple when it came to decor because, like I said, like a lot of that stuff I wasn't noticing, and even the decor that we did pay for that I did enjoy, like I feel like I didn't enjoy it that much. Like on every table we had these lanterns and they had a different character depending on which table they sat on. And I looked at them for maybe 4 seconds. I think the guests enjoyed them, but like that was, we probably could have saved money there. So that I feel like that's like a big advice I'd give to someone is like, don't feel like you need to get a whole bunch of floral. I know that, we didn't need to like buy a bridal bouquet or maybe things like that, but I feel like that was the biggest sticking point as to like, this is a little too much.
Interesting. Okay, great. Now, did anything go wrong or just not turn out like you expected?
There's a couple things, and I say them like I noticed them. I don't think a single guest noticed any of these things. One of the songs when you walk down the aisle, when our like groomsmaids and groomsmen walked down the aisle. I don't know if it was the song that we had requested. I couldn't tell. It could have just been me being overstimulated by everything, but I don't think it was the right song. We also had some mic issues with some of our readings, but they were kind of like our readings weren't that long, so it wasn't the end of the world.
I think we had a missing item at the dessert party too.
We requested like for some of the Woody's Lunchbox tarts because a lot of those can be made plant-based, and we never got those.
Yeah.
It might have got lost in translation when shifting the dessert party from Epcot to the venue. And there was one other thing. Oh, we also customized the cocktails. So I know like the Disney Weddings guide gives you like a set list of like his and her drinks that you can order from. Jason doesn't drink, so we kind of ordered a different kind of mocktail. And then I ordered the Kungaloosh from the Adventurers Club, which is like a Midori-based cocktail. They substituted the Midori for a different melon liqueur. And when they did that, they kind of combined the melon liqueur with the pineapple juice and the cranberry juice into like this pitcher. And by the time the drinks were made for the guests, like there had been ice in there and it was a little watery. So it might not have been exactly how I envisioned it. But I don't think a lot of our guests ordered the drink in the first place. It was more for me. So I feel like that wasn't the end of the world too. Other than that, I can't think of anything that was like massively wrong. We were really stressed about weather the whole day. And even though they moved the dessert party inside, it never actually rained until the minute the wedding ended. We got back to the beach club, like I want to say, like 10:30, and it started pouring. But the forecast that it was supposed to rain like from 5 p.m. on, and it never actually did. So I feel like that was the biggest thing that could have gone wrong, and it didn't. So that was great.
That's wonderful. So was there anything that seemed like a big deal beforehand, but then turned out not to be, I guess, besides the weather?
I know for us, like getting Thomas officiated, I guess is that the right word? I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't know like if he had to whip out documents the day of, or if like Disney required him to like be a specific minister from this specific place. But looking back, obviously I don't suggest this, but he could have been literally anyone and done our marriage license. That was probably the big thing I was concerned about was that. And then moving people from the boardwalk to Epcot. It's a longer walk than you might think it is, and we go all the time. Like I was like, oh, it's no big deal. Like we walk there all the time. It's nothing. We had a lot of guests. I don't want to say a lot, but enough guests who might have had mobility issues or like things like that. But Disney made it really easy to like they got people wheelchairs. Like they made sure everyone was all together. Like I was afraid that someone would like be lost in the bathroom and they would lose access to their dessert party, but the event guides are really good at making sure everyone from your venue got from A to B and no one was left behind, which was really nice. So that was something you just didn't have to worry about. And then just like logistics, like it can't be understated enough how good they have logistics down. I've been in a lot of weddings where by the time you're taking pictures, like the wedding's already started and you missed out on the cocktail hour, you've missed out on all the food. But like Disney made sure that we were all in the right place and we were well fed and like we had all of our hors d'oeuvres. They made sure there was time for all the photos we wanted to take. They made sure that all the guests got the photos they wanted with the characters. So just you're going to be worrying about a lot of logistics, but the team that orchestrates your wedding makes sure that you don't have to worry about it. And they're like 3 steps ahead of you if you are worried about something. So that was something that was really, really like a big relief.
That's wonderful. Is there anything you would have done differently knowing what you know now?
So like I mentioned earlier, we stayed at the Yacht and Beach Club for our room block and for our free room. Looking back, we probably should have just stayed at Boardwalk. We spent a lot of time getting between the venues, like delivering things or walking around, and especially with the rain, I feel like it might have been easier if we just stayed at Boardwalk, personally. But now we have something to do for our anniversary. That's probably the only thing I would probably do. What about you?
Yeah, so one thing I noticed, and I didn't expect this, was that there's a lot going on your wedding day, and like some of it afterwards, it kind of feels like a blur in a way, just because there's so much going on. It's almost like sensory overload. So I think I would have wanted to get the videography just to help me kind of, remember what actually happened. Because again, like some of it just feels like a blur just because there's so much going on. So I definitely would have gotten the videography if I could go back and do it over.
Yeah, I think that we were telling ourselves like, I'm never gonna pop the video in and like watch the ceremony again. But like even just like a 5-minute like sizzle reel of like the whole day would have been really helpful, and I feel like it would have been worth it.
That's great advice. Do you have any other tips or advice for future Disney couples?
I feel like kindness goes a long way when it comes to your planners. Like they are there to help you, like, but they're also there to answer all your questions. I know with entertainment and getting the right characters that we wanted was definitely like a point of contention, but like I recognize that like our planners were not the ones who were saying no and yes to characters, and they were more willing to like get us characters that we wanted just because we were like respectful to them, I feel. And also just in general with like they were really good at just getting everything planned and orchestrated, and like as long as we were super clear with what we wanted and super kind about it, like they were really good about telling us, yes, this is possible, or no, this isn't, but we can do XYZ as an alternative. That being said, though, like feel free to ask them literally anything that you want at your wedding. And like I said, they will try their best to either point you in the direction of how to do it or point you in the direction of something that's a really good alternative. Like I mentioned with the food, just making sure that we could get vegan entrees. There was a miscommunication between like the chefs and the planners and like between like if the Mickey waffles could be made vegan. We were like in the app they show they're vegan, so we had to double triple check that. Same thing with like with the cocktail. Like I might not have done it, having the cocktail, but they were really good about hey, we really like this drink. Can we have this at the wedding? And then they were able to like call someone and like make some calls to make it happen. So I mean like they're there to help you and they're happy to like do anything you need. So if you are nice to them, like they're more than willing to look into it for you. Same thing with photography too. Like we had some really cool photos we took with like our childhood toys, and like we told them in our initial call like we wanted to do this specific photo or that specific photo. Also with our photographers, we had like a pretty good breakdown of like the different combinations of people that we wanted to take pictures with, and it helped them like sort of plan our time to make sure that we got all those done in addition to the shots that they might suggest for a couple. So I guess just giving all the information you can to the photographers is really helpful in making sure you get the photos you want. That being said, I haven't seen them, so maybe I don't want the photos, but I feel like we had plenty of time to do all the things we wanted to just because they knew everything that we wanted, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Well, Jason and Lito, I think you've offered a lot of great tips for anyone who's interested in getting married or having a vow renewal at Walt Disney World, and I appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you so much for having us.
That's our show for today. I'm your host, Carrie Hayward, inviting you to join me again next week for another episode of the Disney Wedding Podcast. Past shows and tons of photos for each episode are available on my website, DisneyWeddingPodcast.com, or listen in your favorite podcast app. And for instant answers to all your Walt Disney World wedding questions, check out Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, available as an interactive ebook with continual free updates at fairytaleweddingsguide.com.